3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Welcome to Mission Control, Peralta Design's podcast on all things branding and digital marketing. Since 2008, Peralta Design has launched hundreds of brands with award-winning identities and websites. Join our hosts Ramon and Jorge as they use decades of combined experience to tackle topics with past clients, industry partners, and the rest of the PD crew. At Peralta Design, we launch brands. But for now, let's launch right into this episode of Mission Control.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mission Control, where we respect the grind and reclaim the American dream. I am your host, Ramon Peralta from Peralta Design, and we launch brands. We're very excited today. We have a very special guest. He's a PD client. He's a passionate educator, a fellow podcaster, and most importantly, he helps people discover their multi-potentiality. He's a personal coach for so many in both life and business, and he's here to tell us all about it. Please help me welcome the founder of TomStepsCoaching.com, Mr. Tom Stepowski.
Thank you, Ramon, for having me. Really appreciate it.
Hey, man, it's nice having you here because we've gotten to know each other over the years. You've worked closely with Jorge and Kevin. We were talking about some mutual acquaintances in the world of education recently, and I just thought it'd be so great to have you on.
This is awesome. I'm tickled silly, really.
So tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Tell us your best backstory.
So backstory was basically kind of grew up, in Norwalk, and every day sort of was in the streets, playing sports, doing a lot of different stuff and hanging out and really just learning the love of sports in the street, also playing all different types of games, everything. And, slowly went into college, and then from college, started to do everything that I've always been doing. And it was a lot because I was kind of that person that did not like the question, what is it that you're going to do with the rest of your life?
Well, I was just about to ask you that. So
yeah, so it started as early as elementary school.
Yeah,
everybody there even asked my son, what do you want to do, when you grow up, or what do you want to be? And you draw the fireman, you draw,
something.
Yeah, I'm seeing the red on your walls.
I wanted to be a street sweeper at one point.
Okay,
I don't know why, but
yeah, my it is what it is, So, but I always knew that, when I started to draw, because at that time, when I'm a kindergartner and I'm drawing 3 or 4 things,
yeah,
right. I'm drawing the hockey player, the soccer player, of course, baseball, because that's
you were more the Renaissance man.
I was the Renaissance man, and I don't know if the teacher said to me, you have to pick one. That's nice, but
pick one
today. When you talk in the circle, you got to talk about just one, and so right away, and it's amazing because even today, my son did the same drill, and we're talking 40 years later, so it's still.
I think it's a disservice. I like when we tell our kids, you can be anything you want. You can be anything. You can be many things.
Well, I think there's a difference between you can be anything you want and you can be many things that you want. And I think we always say anything, and then anything to me says one thing.
Right.
So I could be the president, or I could be a banker.
And then I think it sets you up for failure, because if you don't do that one thing, now you feel like your life's over.
And as you know, I'm a college counselor, so I can't tell you how many stories I hear is, we sent them to school for psychology, and then she gets out, and then she goes into nursing for her master's. So, here we spent all this money on psychology degree, but, she ended up going into nursing.
What did we do wrong?
Or now she just have, what did we do wrong? And I said, you did absolutely nothing. Education is education.
Right.
And it's okay to change your mind 3, 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years into your career. Right. It's called a pivot. We all know that, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of how I grew up, but I kind of didn't really talk about it that much. But I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't uncomfortable answering that question. So what do you do?
So this is kind of born out of your own, I would say, affinity towards wanting to do many different things, even from an early age.
Right. And from the early age, I was always kind of having my hands in a lot of little, doing a lot of different things. And But then as you get older, you start to get pushed to special.
And what did your parents want you to do? What did they push
My
you
parents,
towards?
yeah, they're first generation, so they wanted me to go to college,
Right.
and they didn't care what I was going to be.
So, first generation Polish?
No, actually American, but
Okay.
just first generation to go to college.
Okay,
You know,
gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
so
But your Stepowski is
Stepkowski's Polish,
Yes.
right? But my mom Italian.
But they were more working class, like
Definitely working class. So I was going to be the first one to go to college, and that's all they cared about. Just go to college. We don't know what happens there, but we
Right.
do hear that
that's what you're supposed to do.
You're supposed to do that because you're going to get a good job,
Right.
Right?
That was the thing. It was like if you
get-
graduate, you're going to get a job almost guaranteed.
You're guaranteed a good job with a lot of good money,
Right.
and you're going to get scholarships.
Right.
And we all know that that could be further from the
Right.
truth. So
But as someone, I mean, I identify with you there big time because my parents both, worked in factories, and so they're feeling like, well, we're sacrificing and saving our, we have our Christmas club and are putting our things on layaway and all this because Junior's going to go to college.
Yeah,
and
right.
he's gonna break this chain, or we're going to go to that next level.
Right. And I get it because now I have children.
Mhm.
I think, we all want our children to exceed, what we do
Right.
and have a, per se, better life than
Right.
we do. And you look back and you say, there's nothing wrong with the life that you've had, but everything is, well, we want you to have more money. We want it to be easier. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and say money, can't solve problems because it can. But at the end of the day, it's happiness, and so you got to say to yourself, why am I going to school? Well, you're going to school for self-discovery is really why you're going to school. But we all think it's to get a good job, to get,
Right.
To be respected, to, and if you don't go to school, you're not I don't want to say a good person, but you can't be successful if you don't go to school. We all know that's further from the truth as well.
Right.
And so it's that was kind of the message that was sent. So I kind of was a follower, but I kind of followed everybody to school with my own agenda. So even though you told me something, I might have lip serviced you. Yes. Okay. I'll take that class. I'll do
Right.
that. But in the back of my mind, I always knew, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
you go to college, and then what did you end up majoring in?
So I go to college, and I, like everybody else, because business is the right thing to major in,
Yeah.
I guess. So I major in business.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, right? Because everybody else is doing that in the late 80s. So I do that, and then, halfway through community college, realize I don't want to do that, and I get a scholarship to another school. Now I'm going to a private school in Fairfield, and right away they want me to major, and because I'm going into my third year now, but I'm kind of staying quiet and pretending that I don't hear that question.
There are such a thing as the career college kid. We all knew those guys.
Yeah,
They're like, they have the means and resources to just stay in college permanently.
And I didn't, and my parents didn't, being first generation.
Because so now you're on that time clock where your parents are like, look, we're paying for 4 years, so you better figure this out.
And I don't know if I lied to them, but I think I might have said to them, well, you don't understand the way it works. with this, you have to have the core credits and you have to have this. And so I'm not even sure if I lied or if whatever. They didn't say anything because remember, I'm on scholarship.
Yeah.
So, but
you're first generation. So they're kind of going by whatever you say is how it works.
Right.
You're navigating this on your own.
And then whatever I do is going to trickle down to my brother and sister.
Right,
so I'm sort of like the guinea pig. So, yeah. But then they found out that the scholarship ends after the fourth year.
Uh-huh.
So now, and I was inevitably going to be there for a fifth year. So they said, so what is it that you want to do? And then finally in my senior year, my advisor said, I don't understand. You're accumulating all these credits, but what are you majoring in?
Right.
It says here, general business from Norwalk Community College.
Right.
So, and I see you have some business courses, but you also have a lot of Spanish courses. So
What's going on?
What's going on? And then, I finally had to come clean. I just said, well, I'm just not sure. I don't know if I want to go and sell IBM computers down in South America because I can speak Spanish. And, and I kind of was telling him and he was a great advisor. He just finally said, so if you had to pick your ideal life, what would you want that to look like? And I said, honestly, I'm living my ideal life. I'm getting out of school. I'm working a couple hours, and then at 2:00, I have to be over at the high school because I'm the freshman soccer coach. I'm also the, the hockey coach. I'm also the tennis coach. So I need to be there at 2:00. And I'm not giving that up is what I said to him. And he says, well, once you get a degree, you do realize, most jobs are 9 to 5. When are you going to coach? And I said, it was such a simple question. Yeah. And I just never had thought about it. And I said, that's a pretty good point. and he said, I don't know about you, but if I was you, since all your A's are in Spanish, you're only about 3 courses away from a major in Spanish. And why don't you just rack up some education credits and be certified and just be a Spanish teacher?
Right.
And I like the words "just be a Spanish teacher" because he knew my agenda. I said I
wanted to do so much more.
I just want to coach.
Yeah.
I want to coach. That's all I want to do. I had a DJ business, so I was a disc jockey, and I was doing that during high school and college. I wanted to run the business. I wanted to have all my other.
What kind of music were you playing? Like
hip hop. We were. I was a break dancer, so that's how we grew up with Crazy Legs and with Turbo and everybody from the whole break dance crew. So we had our crew, but that evolved into DJing. Because we didn't like the music that they were playing, so we would dance plus we would spin records. So that's what we did, and so we we were Beach Street, and we had our crew, and I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed performing at the dances, and I enjoyed coaching on the side, and I was just staying in school to kind of please my parents, you know what I mean? But I really didn't know what I wanted to do because I was just all over the place. So he just said, why wouldn't you just do that? That way you could kind of
Who knew that we were going to have a hip hop legend here on the
I don't know about that.
On our airwaves.
That's the next podcast episode. I could definitely drop some names because I love hip hop.
I used to work with Lovebug Starsky. He was from Bridgeport.
Yes.
And so when I first started out doing flyers, he was one of my early clients.
Oh my goodness.
And he's a legend. He was one of the first guy. Some people think he invented hip hop. Him and Kool Herc and
oh my goodness,
rapping on a mic over some records and so forth. But he lived here in Bridgeport.
It's amazing. And during the time we were so lucky. It was the Russell Simmons, and it was just that whole era of. And then when breakdancing kind of came in, for me that's kind of when hip hop started. But but looking back at the history and like way back, and it actually goes back very far.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
And then that to me was just a whole nother thing that I could just study and love and like. And so it
takes me back to I was 4th grade when Rapper's Delight came out.
Okay, so you were 4th grade.
And then like Planet Rock and all that, that's when the breakdancing, because those were like 15-minute songs.
Those were with Wonder Mike and Master G, and you're in 8th grade. See, 8th grade was big for me then because they played it on the speaker on the bus.
Okay.
So when those came on, forget it. Those were those are just the days, and it fit my lifestyle, and it fit the people,
But you managed to. I know a lot of dudes from that era that just didn't make it. And do you think that having the opportunity to be in college, even though you were trying to do all these things, put you in to have a guidance counselor like that to kind of keep you on track, and your parents were working hard, I don't want to kind of not emphasize that enough, that I think that you were blessed in a way. You were surrounded with folks. You had this chance to go to school. You had the scholarship. Because a lot of these guys from early hip-hop days just did not make it.
Absolutely. Always in the back of my mind, I always, did not really understand the potential, or the power or the superpower of having a degree. But it was after I got the degree that I started to realize, the earning potential and stuff like that. So was I sold on it at the beginning? No. But once I started to work, and I worked as a Spanish teacher for 20 years, and I saw that, wow, I get insurance, I get health, pension, and I started to understand. But what I really enjoyed about teaching was that I developed a passion after I started teaching, which to me was amazing, because I went in just as, for schedule. I'm like, wow, I got summers free. I get 3-4 weeks a year, a lot of holidays. I get out at 2. I'm going to be able to.
But you had to have had a passion for the youth, because you were coaching all these different sports.
Yep.
Right. What was it about that? Was it like you enjoyed being the dad kind of role model, or encouraging, or
just, to me, people say there's we could sit here and argue all day. There's differences between all the different, but to me, coaching is teaching. teaching is role modeling. Role
Right.
modeling is,
Yeah.
you know, they all kind of fall under the same. And I loved competition,
Yeah.
win or lose. I loved it. It drove me. It made me work. It made me work hard. It made me, you know, when we lost, it taught me sportsmanship. You know, it's not the sport that you really learn. You learn the discipline. You learn the story behind everything. And that to me it made me, it was my drive. So to instill that drive into other kids and sort of be there, that to me will always be the seller. So whether I'm coaching a multi-potentialite, or I'm coaching a student that's going to college, or I'm coaching a person in sports tennis instruction, it's still all kind of the same, falls under the same umbrella.
Right.
You know, you're there to extract and show them their potential. You're not there to teach them necessarily. You're there to show them there's a power inside you. You probably don't know how to find it. And I'm going to just show you to find it. And once you find it, you know, the idea is not to stick with me as your coach. It's for me to teach you, show you where your power is. You finally identify from it, and then I'm gone. If I'm with you for 25 years, there's something wrong there. That means I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
That means you need to. There's got to be self-discovery, and I think that's the best thing. Even when I was tutoring, I'd say the same thing. My goal here is not to sit here and watch you do your homework. You know, my goal is here to teach you to be self-sufficient and show you the tricks. And then if I'm here for 2 years, that's too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to soon graduate away from me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, at what point did you have that aha moment where you started your teaching, you know, you're in that routine, you're coaching, but then at some point, and I like what you said about being a DJ, because you've always had this entrepreneur side.
Right.
But at what point in your teaching career did you decide to start coaching adults on life and in business?
So I started doing play directing, and I started to write my own music. And that's how when I saw your studio and how beautiful it is here at Peralta, I says, I got to have one of these, you know. So I started at a recording studio, and I started my own music publishing company, and I started writing music, and I started working with adults because they could obviously sing better. But so I started in music video and having people come over and record in my own little home studio, and just started mixing down and doing my own thing and really enjoying that part. And that came from the music part because I just love the music, and it's still a part. But it's weird because now I'm evolving as the technology evolves. Podcasting is hot. Now I'm moving into I'm sort of like moving. And what that causes you to do, since you're sort of like a jack of all trades, master of none, that's kind of how I felt. But I've never been shy to reach out to somebody and say, hey, you know, I need a master of this, a specialist in website design. I'm not a specialist. I'm not even close. I'm not going to try to go on and learn it from YouTube. I'm going to reach out to like you, Peralta, and say, look, you're the best in the biz. Do my website. I have no trouble reaching out to any person who specializes in something. So I love to work with teams. I love to work with coaching adults, and especially adults who are just like me, trying to figure it out and not even knowing that multi-potentiality is actually a thing. Because to me, I just thought
about that, because to be honest with you, I fancy myself as having a pretty decent vocabulary, but that's not a word I've used before.
It's not even a real word. It's the real word is, I want to say, is what you called it. It's called a Renaissance person.
Like Leonardo da Vinci is the epitome. The guy was sketching out helicopters. He was a painter. He was a doctor. He's dissecting. You know, he had that image of man, you know, stretched out. I mean,
Ben Franklin. You know,
Ben Franklin's another one.
As far as I knew, is he held a kite, discovered electricity, and he's on, you know, some money.
Right.
That's what I was taught. But if you really research Ben Franklin, I mean, the guy there's so many things that the guy did that was just all over the place. So
how do you find, so that's your target, you know, you're good at coaching those types of individuals. How do you find, what's your strategy to reach them? Where are they? Is there a certain like avatar that you know?
There really isn't an avatar. I was just, you know, taught at an early age, you know, coaching is pretty general. Right. And that's your dot. That's like your, you know, but you got to shrink that dot. You know, who are you going to coach? Right. You know what I mean? And a lot of people thought, well, don't you do schools? So shouldn't you be coaching students? Well, yeah, but I do that all day. You know what I mean? But there is you know, and those kids mostly talk about at 18 years old, what am I going to major in? You know, I don't even know what my major is. And I love when those kids come in, because I'm like, Then I share a little bit of my personal story and say, you know what, I didn't declare till I was a senior. Now I don't know if I would say that's the right thing to do. But for me, don't worry so much about majoring right now. Just get in there. And I hate to tell you, you're most likely going to change your mind 2 or 3 times. You know what I mean? And that's just what happens.
Right.
It's self-discovery. And that's what college is about. So the best thing I think that college provides, honestly, is self-discovery. I mean, it's a great philosophy, to go in there and just be with other people, grow, right? Hear different opinions and be in a safe place to exercise, what you believe in and to learn. And I've learned more about myself and more about the people around me in college than anything, which I didn't think that's what I was going there for. I thought I was going there to get training for a job.
Right.
That's going to pay a lot of money. And
right.
I don't think anybody really understands that. But my kids that I deal with at school are like, well, what am I going to major in? What am I going to major in? What am I going to major in? And I say, well, you kind of like business. Maybe start there. But if it changes.
You're the perfect example of you don't have to know right now. Just kind of go out there and see what happens.
You don't even have to know at 45.
Yeah.
Because things will, one thing I can tell you is things will change.
Right.
And I will be right. And I know it because I see people who are like, I was, going to do this. And then all of a sudden they come back and they're a totally different person 3 years later. And I say, remember our conversation that we had? And you even wrote me a card. See, it's up on my wall, how you're going to be the best pharmacist in the world. And I says, and now you're going to be an actress. And they're like, yeah, I can't believe I wrote that. And I'm like, I can. I can, because we change, We run into different people. We meet, we have different experiences. Something happens, a life event happens. And I mean, my wife is a perfect example. She went into psychology and then she had a life event, suffered a loss and was like, I want to help people. I want to be a nurse. Just things happen. So you got to be ready for the pivot.
Right.
Which is the hottest word in the past 365 years.
COVID has made everybody figure out how do you pivot.
How do you pivot, right?
And if you don't pivot, you won't survive.
You won't. And that's what I try to teach people is that life is a pivot. And if you're not good at pivoting or being okay to start over, because being a multi-potentialite, or some people call them scanners because you scan the horizon, or some people will also call them /careerists. I'm a teacher /coach /tennis instructor /DJ /breakdancer / it just keeps going.
Author.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's, and it's, so that's basically what, I'm a firm believer in it, and it's okay. You will find yourself, you will be okay. And I help a lot of people really just understand that they're not wish-washy.
Right.
They're not flaky. We know that mom and dad want you to commit to something so they can't, they can start.
There's also value in what you did, which is, I like to think of it as like you have an anchor career. Mm-hmm. That's like your bread and butter, your stability.
Right.
And then you can experiment and try different things, but you're a teacher. Like you've locked that in. And I think that should be an important message, because if you just tell folks, hey, just try everything or try anything, and they don't have that anchor, I think they can find themselves maybe in a precarious situation where they don't have anything steady really coming in.
And believe it or not, that is actually called the Einstein Approach. So Einstein did just one job, but that job allowed him to do a lot of other things. Now, where did he get his income from? Probably not his favorite job.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it enabled him stability.
Right.
And then he went on to, obviously, as you know, do these amazing things. So education for me, being in school and school community, has not only been a great job, but it's also afforded me and it has allowed me to pay the bills, for my family, have a family, have health insurance. And I've met some incredible people through education, and we've actually gone on to do things together and be entrepreneurial together. And it's a place where you can actually be entrepreneurial.
How do you balance this all?
That's another thing that I help people coach with, because a lot of people don't understand multipotentiality. They think it's a person taking on too much, and that's not exactly what it is. It's not that at all. Multipotentiality means you're doing a job or you're doing a podcast, and when you're not interested anymore, you just stop doing it. You don't have to become a master at it. Mastery is when you decide I'm not doing it anymore, and you can either throw it away forever, or you could backburner it. So like I threw away theater forever, I thought. But then when my daughter started getting involved, I kind of pulled it back out and then brought my theater experience to her and to her school and try to help them out. So it's it's almost like being 40 or 50 different things, but then really focusing on 3 or 4, and you can decide to get rid of it forever, or you could decide to revisit it later on. But it's part of your identity. You know, how many times I've been told, you know, my God, I've just never met somebody who does so many things. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't. You know, I'm a real estate investor. I have a license. I might sell a house or do a flip of a house, but that happens once every 2 years. You know what I mean? So it's just another facet.
Right.
So don't think I'm, you know,
doing everything at once.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, there's 24 hours in a day. You have children, you have a family, you know, but I'm never going to forget it, or just, some people chuck things forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it just depends. But what you're talking about is called the Einstein Approach.
Yeah. And everything has its season, or everything has its time.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the book you wrote.
So the book that I wrote is about multipotentiality. And I titled it Because Nobody Told Me I Couldn't. And it is kind of sarcastic, because almost everything in society tells you that you really should specialize. You really should, you know, hone in on one thing, do one thing great, find your strength, all that kind of thing. But I don't really believe in that. So the book is basically about stories that I have and things that I've done and how I've been successful developing multiple streams of income from just little different things in and out, and showing people that you can do it this way. And the title is Because Nobody Told Me I Couldn't is actually ironic, because everybody in society tells you really can't. You really can't have all these jobs and pursuits and interests. It just doesn't make any sense. That's kind of wishy-washy. It's non-committal, all that kind of stuff. And I'm basically, nobody ever said to me, you can't do this, right? Really, nobody really told me I couldn't. But they kind of, with their messaging and stuff like that, like, you got to major, you really ought to. I think the messages are, you really have to, you know, hone in on something, you know, and I would always, like I said, lip service them. Yes, sure, I'm sure I do, but I always knew in the back.
So if you were invited to career day and you came in and you had to introduce yourself, what would you say?
I'm a coach. Because a coach or a teacher.
I thought I was going to stump you with that one.
No, but it is a stumper, because I hate the question.
Yeah.
But I even ask it when I go to a party. Yeah. You know, I you shake your hands, hey, you know, whatever.
Everybody wants to size you up. What do you do?
Where do you live? Yeah. But then the next question coming out of my mouth is, what do you do? And, you know, so I try to beat them to that question. And then, you know, I listen to their whole story, and then I try to say, you know, I'm going to grab a wine, and then I don't even want to answer that question, and I disappear somewhere else in the party, because I don't want to tell them what I do, because it's a disservice. But if somebody says to me, what do you do? I would say I'm an educator. Yeah. You know what I mean? I like education. I've spent the bulk of my time, obviously, teaching and as a guidance counselor. So I would say education and coaching and sports. But I mean, you know.
Well, you're easy to talk to, so I know it wouldn't be a short answer, but it'd be a good answer. What was it like writing the book? Did it take you, like, how many years did it take you, or did you find it easy?
Very easy. It's a short book. It's only like 200 pages. Okay. It took me about 3 months. Okay. So, and I make sure that it's kind of raw. You know, I want it to sound like how I'm talking. Yeah. So it's not really professionally written. It's self-published, so comes out on October 11th.
All right, awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So
I've been working on mine for a while. I have a lunch meeting with my editor tomorrow.
We know, we're waiting. So I don't know why you're taking so long.
I don't know either. I guess because I have so much multi-potentiality, I'm doing too many things.
That's a good thing. Yeah. It's a great thing.
But everything has its time.
It does.
It is going to happen.
Yes, it will.
So give us maybe a success story or two, because I know what I can tell, what you exude is this positive energy. I know that what you're doing, it must be so rewarding, because you're impacting lives, whether it's in the classroom or on the field or in life. Give us a success story or two so that we can get an idea of the kind of people you help. So
I think when I work with people, they come to me and will ask, you know, they're really worried about niching down and who do I help? How do I do it? And my biggest thing to them is that, you know, you have to start with passion, and focus on passion, focus on interest, focus on what tools you have and your strengths. The problem is society tells us to focus on money, fame, security, when we all know that security does not exist. Fame could have its other side.
Right.
Money will buy you good things, material things. It'll give you a living. But if you end up chasing those things, and you usually do as the younger that you are, nothing wrong with that. But later on, we all know that at the end of the day, COVID is a perfect example. It's really made some of the clients that I've had re-examine life.
Right.
Just re-examine, like, why am I doing this? And I try to show them that, look, be passionate, make sure you're passionate and that you love what you're doing. And I tell my students the same thing. Love what you do, be that person, turn your mess into your message. Because my mess was kind of like being all over the place, but then turning it, showing people that, there's actually a message out there that I'm trying to send to everybody. And just follow your passion, follow your gut, be you, do you. Activity without purpose will be the drain to your life. So make sure there's a purpose behind everything. And then the byproducts, if you're just busy doing that, your message, your thing, being you, not defending what you do, because that's kind of how I feel multi-potentialites are. They always have to defend the reason why they're doing so much. And I say, don't defend. Just do what you want to do. Be what you want to be. Don't care what other people say. And the byproducts will be fame, money. And that will come when you're not looking. What is that old saying? Success comes when you're not, when you're not looking for, it's something like a Tony Robbins thing. And that to me, I think is the biggest success stories that I have when I help people to understand that you got to follow your heart. You really do. You got to go inside, look inside, discover what's inside of you, and do just that. Because you're going to have regrets later on down the road. If your parents said, don't do artwork because art doesn't pay, be a
lawyer.
Be a lawyer. But if you don't like being a lawyer and you're making all this money and you really have this passion
you're not going to be happy.
You're not. We know that. And the older you get, that. Right. But, it's so I make sure that people understand that, it's really about being happy. You're you, decide what you want to do. God does not, what does that say? He doesn't call on the qualified. He qualifies the called. And I think he called for me to be multi-potential. Yeah. You know what I mean? And whether I like it or not, I gotta live with that, and I gotta learn how to be that. If God calls you to be an artist, if God calls you to start your own company here at Peralta, you got to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Amen. And I know this is turning into a sermon, but I love it because
sorry about that. I didn't mean to bring religion in, but
listen, it's just spirituality and a higher power that I think preordains our steps.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you're truly in your passion and you're living your purpose, the universe opens up for you. It opens doors for you.
Of course.
And I see that, and that's why I hear you loud and clear. I also believe that you can drive by. We've all watched the news, and sometimes it's terrible. But if you hear these stories of these families living in these mansions, and they kill themselves or they do something tragic, and you think that, wow, I'm driving by this beautiful home. They must be so happy in there. And these families have these tragic stories happen. On the flip side, I've been, I've visited Dominican Republic where my parents are from, and I've met people there that by all means you think they're poor. Maybe they are, selling cigars on the beach or what have you, and you think that they would want nothing more than to come here, and they're actually happy living a simple life. And I've had conversations with these guys where they're like, I don't have any interest in going there. I'm happy here. I do this. I'm on the beach. I eat coconuts. I mean, so happiness isn't necessarily equated to material. And I think that we push that a lot here. I do think happiness does correlate with living in your purpose, though.
Oh, it's such a good point that you bring up. I spent 6 or 7 weeks in Colombia, and when I say that those people were the happiest people I had ever seen, and they were the poorest people I had ever seen, that I had ever been exposed to in high school, honestly. But to have that pride to pay for everything that I did while I was there, and to give me their beds, to give me their food, and to see how happy they were. I came back a changed person. And when I started college, I was just like, this just reconfirms that you having a money problem, that's a numbers problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to just worry about fixing the numbers. You think you're having a money problem, but there's things that could be deep rooted. And, just like you said, you drive by these, they must be happy. They have 3 houses, so they must be better than us. And
they're not,
it's
not necessarily.
Yeah. No, but my biggest saying right now is your network is your net worth.
Yes.
And it's the people around you.
Right.
It's those people that are in your auditorium, the top 300 people in your world.
Right.
And in the front row is your family and your top and your most favorite mentors and people that have influenced you the most. And if you have that and you're surrounded, by the right people, you have a support system that just can't fail you.
Right.
And when you fall, and you will, and your days will go sideways, and your house will catch on fire, whatever, those people are going to be there to build you up and help you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's
so true. And I think that, one of the things you mentioned about college is just opened your horizons, the experiences you had, the people you met from different places. Mm-hmm. And too many of our young people, if they don't have that opportunity, then their world is just the radius of their city block, and they don't really see a future. And you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Absolutely. And I didn't understand that as a middle school kid, which is why I hung out with kids that threw snowballs at cars, which is why I ended up, in the police department. But you know what? I moved away from that group. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, and when I moved away and I was with a group that was very studious or very athletic, then I started to become a better athlete. And so, I mean, it's just, you really are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with the most.
Such a great positive message. Now, where can folks find your book?
It's on Amazon. Okay. So they could just, October 11th, it'll be available.
Okay.
And because nobody told me I couldn't be anything and everything you want to be. And I'm doing that word everything and because you really could.
That's awesome.
Maybe not full time, but it sucks.
Now, what I know we helped you with your website. Is that the best way? You want to tell our listeners what's the best way to kind of contact you?
Yeah, by Peralta Design. When you look at this site and you want a nice site, then you're going to call Peralta. Let me tell you something. So they have been instrumental in giving me this site, and not just designing the site, but they actually conceived it when I showed them just some sketch drawings, and then to see it come to life. So for that, Ramon, I'm truly thankful. This company is amazing. So tomstepcoaching.com. Website is by Peralta, and then of course all the social media, all the major, Facebook, Tom Step Coaching, Insta, Tom Step Coaching, LinkedIn, Tom Step Coaching.
All right, Tom, thank you. You're an amazing guy doing amazing work, inspiring so many. And I'll end with this. It's like when you look at somebody's gravestone and you see those 2 dates, what really matters is what that little dash in between.
Yes, it's my favorite book by Steve Harvey, the comedian, says it's called Dash Deposits. Mm-hmm. You got to make those dash deposits. You really, really have to make those dash deposits and put in some incredible experiences, because the dates don't matter. Right. You could live a 30-year life, but that dash could be, that's the most important thing. That's a great analogy. I love it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on our show.
Thank you, Ramon. Thank you so much, Peralta Design.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.
Thank you for taking this journey with us. To learn more about Peralta Design and our work, go to www.peraltadesign.com and subscribe to keep up with the crew.